Oh, we got to keep it going here on the draft conversation. And today we got to get into who has the best defined skill set of this particular thing as it pertains to the draft class and as they walk into the NBA, and specifically for the Philadelphia 76ers. Whose skill set fits best for the Philadelphia 76ers, especially when you're looking at pick number 3. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers podcast on a Friday as we close out the week. Alongside Derek Bodner, I'm Devon Givens. Kyle Neubeck has the day off. President of Basketball Operations, Bree, is here with us. As all of you are in the chat, we thank you so much for joining us, as always, on this Friday on the show. And a ton to get to here as we hang out with you to continue to talk about the NBA draft class, how it pertains to the Philadelphia 76ers, and all of that. We'll get into the NBA Finals a little bit later because what is going on, man? I mean, seriously, what is happening? We'll talk about that a little bit. As soon as I walk in, I had to talk to Bo and Zach and Bree and Julia about that because the NBA stuff is just nuts with the finals. We got to get Derek's thoughts on it, all of your thoughts on the NBA Finals as well as we hang out with you. But we talk so much about these players and we break down their games in totality, from all of you to all 4 of us here on the show. Rich did on draft lottery night, as we talked about it with Rich, and we'll do so again when we get to share some screen time with him on draft night, which will be 19 days from today on the 25th, that Wednesday, the first day of the 2-day draft event, which is ridiculous, especially with the lack of talent, with the players going back to school. It's not as eventful for day number 2. But we want to talk to you today as we speak with these players in general. We want to talk about their skill sets. Who has the most defined skill set in this category and how that will pertain and maybe get them on the floor sooner because of what they do that is their specialty of these players in the draft. And mind you, folks, we've all sat here and talked about after Flagg and Harper, every one of these players has a flaw. But the reason why they are discussed at pick number 3, 4, 5, the lottery in general, which is where we're going to keep this in the lottery, these players, these young men, they are in this conversation because of the one thing that they do really well that has them in the discussion for that particular spot. So, Derek, where would you like to start, man? Because after, again, Flagg and Harper, there are a number of things that make player X this good, which is why we are talking about him number 1 for the Sixers at pick number 3, third overall. But also, hey, I might even trade down to number 5 and feel okay because player X does this, and this will help the Sixers here in this spot while also maybe pulling in a veteran player from that specific team's roster.
Yeah, I mean, I think where I'll start off is like when we start going over these skills, I'm probably not going to talk about Cooper Flagg or Dylan Harper all that much because it doesn't seem like they're likely to be an option. So I think my focus is going to be mostly on people who would theoretically be an option. In that sort of vein, I'm probably going to keep it, lottery and in, like somewhere in that lottery range. You don't know exactly who the 14 prospects that would be, but somewhere probably more realistically in like the 1 through 20 range. Mm-hmm. Even though if you have an elite skill, you're probably drafted in that 1 through 20 range anyway, although there are some exceptions every now and then. Like, for example, Hanson Yang might be the best post scorer in this draft. He might end up going late first, early second round, but in part because he has some very big weaknesses as well, and also in part because people just don't really pursue those kind of post scorers anymore. His value in the draft is completely different. But outside of that, there aren't usually elite skills you find in the second round. Like I said, if they had elite skills, you would buy into that a little bit earlier. So yeah, I think a natural place to start is probably just with shooting, in part because we talk about that a lot, in part because it's, quite frankly, one of the harder skills to project. I do think one thing we do a little bit is overreact to shooting percentages with draft prospects, because when you start talking about 30 games, a season's worth of shots isn't enough of a sample to trust the numbers anyway. 30 games is less than half of an NBA season. You start getting into real small sample size, especially when then you factor in role and teammates and all of that stuff. That's why a lot of times when we sit here and talk about Ace Bailey, I don't focus almost at all on the free throw percentage. I don't focus all that much on the 3-point percentage when I discuss that skill. So I think shooting, and there's so many different kinds of shooting, right? There's off the catch, there's off screens, shooting off the dribble, all different kinds. And a lot of that doesn't necessarily translate over from one skill to the other. It's theoretically you could build upon that base, but it's different kind of footwork, different kind of skill sets. But I think shooting is probably a natural place to start.
All right. So where do you go? Do you go? Let's just talk about just the general shooting overall. Who's the best shooter?
So we're including all shooting now.
All shooting now.
I think it is when you include everything, including the stuff off the dribble. I do think it's Tre Johnson.
Yep.
You know, he can play off the catch, which is great on this team because you have two other guards in Maxey and McCain who can also handle the ball. And obviously then Embiid, who if he's on the court can attract a double team, and you need someone to make that open shot and take the open shot confidently, which as we learned with 12, taking the shot is a very important part of floor spacing as well.
It is.
You don't want to pump fake, jab step, and give the defense a chance to recover. I think Tre is as good of a shooter and probably more specifically as diverse of a shooter as are in this lottery range.
So I look at him and I go there too. Best shooter for everything when you talk about putting the ball on the floor, the pull up. You said it yourself right there at the start that even when you look at the numbers and you look at the percentages, it may not go in his favor of he's the best one in this draft class. But when you also just look at how he does it, even in workouts, when you watch somebody in their workouts and you say, man, that right hand, dribbling to your right as a right-hander is not the easiest one versus going to your left where it's your guide hand and you can just pick up and just go right into your shooting motion. A lot of times that's easier. And we'll talk about Tyrese Halliburton in that game-winning shot a little bit later. That's not an easy thing to do. And when you look at Tre Johnson and the ability to hit those outside shots off the catch, behind the three-point line, the relocate, the simple dribble sidestep as the defender flies by and still square up, take that shot, he can do all of that as a player coming into the league right away. When we talk about yesterday and we discuss Ace Bailey a lot, getting on the floor a lot is going to be your defense. The one thing, the defined skill that we know you have, that's why you're drafted and that's why you're going to play. The other thing that's going to keep you on the floor is, of course, the defense. But the one main thing is going to be absolutely having the opportunity to see this guy shoot the basketball. So when we look at the Sixers in this particular case and we talk about Tre Johnson, and once again, if you did not see the video that I put out there as a short on our YouTube page, please go check it out. I talk about how he has entered the chat simply because of his shooting. The fact that when they decided to go with Jared McCain, Daryl Morey, Elton Brand in the front office last summer in the draft, they did so, and we talked about it, because of the fact that the shooting spaces the floor for the personnel that they have. Now you add another, and when we look at the NBA playoffs, the way it's playing out right now, and we see all the shooting that has been throughout the playoffs, and especially in the Final Four, and now in these last two, shooting makes a huge difference in today's game. So when you look at Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, if you bring Quentin Grimes back and the ability to shoot with Paul George and even Joel Embiid because of his hang dribble pull-up jumper that he likes to put on full display, that's a layup for him, 15 to 17 out. Now you incorporate a player like Tre Johnson who can shoot from all over the floor and all different types of shots from behind the three-point line. They pull the ball down on the closeout and still get a mid-range shot, because as we talk about here on the show, the analytics say one thing about pull-up jump shots mid-range, but when you are elite as a shooter, that does not include you. You do it. And Tre Johnson seems to have that elite skill where it's three-point shooting, mid-range shooting, the relocation shooting, and the catch and shoot that we know is going to be a big part of the Sixers offense because of those three players that we talk about for the big three and name for the Sixers, and then even when McCain, Grimes, and some others are out there on the floor. Eric Gordon was brought in here to do one thing as an older player, to shoot the basketball. Now you look at a younger player like Tre Johnson, not to say he's going to have the career of Eric Gordon or Jamal Crawford, who people who have decided to comp him as, but a player like that, you bring in Eric Gordon for a simple reason like that. This is another reason why you look at a player like Tre Johnson and see where the value is there on this basketball team and the fit makes sense. We even put him in, Kyle had him as a sleeper to start Eric Gordon last season when we were looking at some different lineup combinations for the Sixers. The Justin Edwards part of, hey, the guy can shoot and he can defend, but it's also a big part of the shooting. Tre Johnson also fits that bill. Yeah,
and when you start, you mentioned some of the diversity. He shot 41% on catch and shoot threes, which is exceptional. He shot 38.4% on pull-up threes, which is very good. Borderline exceptional. I would say probably exceptional there too. It's just a really good, especially given the volume. He shot almost 100 pull-up threes, which is incredible volume. And we've talked a lot about, Texas and their lack of a system and how much was on his shoulders. Well, if you're able to take that volume on off the dribble threes, it just opens up the world for you. Now, it didn't really open up the world for him at Texas. He struggled at times getting to and finishing at the rim. His pull-up twos was a little bit less efficient, but I think still there's a lot to work with there. But I think when you put him in NBA spacing, I do think having that threat of pulling up off of a screen and pulling up off of a pick and roll, it's going to open up some driving lanes for him. And I think there's a chance he ends up looking better as a driver in the NBA with good teammates around him, with good spacing around him than he did at Texas. And we've said this before, I do think there is probably a little bit more shot creation, or a little bit more passing, a little more of a willing passer and a little bit more creativity than maybe he was able to show too. But that jump shot, that diversity of the jump shot, off ball, off screen, off the dribble, really does form the basis of, I think, what can be a pretty unique and a pretty tantalizing offensive player.
I'll add one more. And you watched a ton of Texas games at this point. I watched a fair amount during the regular season and looking at some stuff going back to as we lead into the draft. The transition three is important in today's NBA.
Oh, yeah.
He is one that is not afraid. It's 1-on-4. And he will, again, maybe not look great in college when your team is not all that great and all that stuff. But the confidence that we know he has in his shooting, in himself, and the fact that, Derek, if you sprint out, you see a layup. A lot of times you want the team to just go ahead and take that layup. This is a guy that can find his spot in transition and fire it away. Yeah.
No, and I mean, look, you mentioned last night's game, but like OKC got beat, or not OKC, Indy got beat in a lot of, like, they had, what was the turnover differential? 24-6?
24-6, 19
like
in the
that?
first half.
I think OKC had like a +6 on free throws made differential. They won because they launched like 38 threes or something like that and had a pretty good night. When you're able to put that much pressure on a defense, when you're able to get that volume of threes up, and part of that is going to be in transition, it can be a great equalizer.
And you guys always talk about Boston and how many they shoot, and it's a ton of them.
Yeah, they're the one team where I'm like, maybe dial it back just 10%. Just 10%.
Just a tad bit. So Tre Johnson starts us off there. He is the best all-around shooter in the draft class.
And I will say, I did drop an update to my own personal big board. Haven't announced it yet, but if you're in Discord, you will get access to it.
There you go. Make sure you sign up to become a diehard member at allphly.com to get access to the Discord.
Yes, it does pertain to Tre a little bit. There's a little movement on Tre.
A lot of Tre lately. Now, look, we have enough time from May 12th to where we are today on June 6th, and obviously 19 days away from the NBA draft. We're going to see a lot of different names in that third spot. It's Tre Johnson's turn now, because a lot of people are now sliding him into number 3 for their mock drafts for where they believe the Sixers would go. And not all that surprised at this stage of where we are. All right, well, where would you like to go in the shooting now? And we went overall shooting. Where would you like to go in a specific area of shooting?
Well, I think probably off the catch. Let's go with off the catch. I'll let you, since I took the lead on the first one, you can go ahead and give your
off the
thoughts
catch. I'll go Kon Knuppel.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go Kon Knuppel. When we did our initial mock draft, the day you were off because you were getting ready for the NBA draft guide that you have at allphly.com with Will Gottlieb of CHGO, I selected at 6 before we knew exactly where things would go for the Sixers, and I selected Kon Knuppel, and you liked that, and we talked about the catch and shoot ability playing off of, again, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, Jared McCain in this spot where you look at Kon Knuppel, there are going to be a number of spots available, a number of shots available because of double teams, because of maybe even triple teams, where if they do the right thing and the ball swings the right way and they find the open shooter, it's going to be him a lot of times, Kon Knuppel, on a catch and shoot. And his catch and shoot ability that we saw at Duke, then to put the ball on the floor, as you alluded to a little bit earlier, I would say in this draft class right now, outside of the Tre Johnson conversation, strictly on the catch and shoot, Kon Knuppel gets my vote here.
Yeah. And this is one where I do think Ace Bailey is in the running.
100%.
Even though Kon shot, I think Kon's like off the catch shooting was like 41%, something like that. It was really strong. Ace's was a little bit lower than that, but I think Ace is in the running in part because he has such a high release point that people are scared to help off of him. And he's so comfortable making those contested shots that defenders will not drift off of him the way they will somebody else. Like, and I hate to bring up the name, but somebody like Tobias Harris, where they know if they give a strong contest, he will pump fake and, pass out of that.
Yeah.
Passing out of those open catch and shoot shots and resetting the offense gives a chance for the defense to reset. So because of it, they help off of it more than you would expect. Ace with that high release point has a chance to really be an elite floor spacer. But I do think it still goes to Kon here, in part because Kon, his release is quicker and it's real quick and it's real compact and obviously then real repeatable because of it. But also his pre-shot footwork is just pristine. And a combination of those two means he needs very little time to get that shot off. And because of that, it has, I think, even more of an impact on spacing. And also he was, elite at making the contested catch and shoot threes as well. Like he sort of had a little bit of that in him where he was comfortable shooting over a contest, shooting over a defender. You combine that with the quickness of the shot and how good and consistent his pre-shot footwork is. He, I think, is the best floor spacer. And also, he's just a little bit more comfortable running around off of a screen. Ace is good at it. I think Kon's a little bit better at it. Certainly a little better at the relocation stuff and being able to use a pump fake to get a defender to fly by. All of that means it's just very hard to leave Kon. And then you also add in the fact that if you do fly by him, he's comfortable putting the ball on the floor once or twice to get in the middle of the floor. The pull-up jumper needs to, I think, there needs to be a little bit of work on that shot off the dribble. But I think he's comfortable, using that closeout to get into the lane, make a pass, or throw a shoulder to get a layup at the rim. That all translates to it's just really hard to leave him on the perimeter.
Yeah, yep. So I love the fact that you included Ace in there. All kidding aside, when we get to the whole you guys don't like Ace, you've talked about how his shooting is really, really good and could be elite because of that.
And again, by don't like Ace, it means we still have him in the top 5 or 6.
Yes. So
just want to clear that.
So it's just that, but no, to have Kon Knuppel there at that spot, that makes sense on the catch and shoot. He is very, very good. And you said the repeatable thing about it, man, it's the same every time.
Every time. It's really amazing.
It's amazing how he gets that shot off. All right, we're going to take a quick pause. We come right back. We got to talk about, Derek, maybe the best defender, best athlete, best passer in here, best shot blocker in the lottery as well, because all of these things still do pertain to the Philadelphia 76ers as they need to make sure that they hit on this number 3 overall pick. So we'll talk about all of them. So everybody get ready. Best defender, athlete, passer, shot blocker. Am I missing anything of the ones that we wanted to
I think some of those we can go into no, I think that's probably pretty close to what we'll get to.
Yeah.
So in part because we're 20 minutes in and we talked about shooting and nothing else.
We can still talk about shooting.
If we did too much more than what you listed, we'd be here for an hour and a half.
We can still talk about more shooting with that because we didn't really get into the whole how it all translates to free throw shooting and all that stuff too. But we'll get into all of those when we get back right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast.
All right, guys, summer's here, which means kids are out and about, hanging out with friends, maybe even picking up a summer job. It's a perfect time to set them up with something that teaches real-world money skills and gives them a little freedom, the Greenlight debit card and money app. If you're a TrueMark Financial member, you can get a free Greenlight account for your kids or teens. It's a simple way for them to manage their money, whether it's from a job, allowance, or birthday cash. They'll get their own debit card, can get savings goals, track spending, and learn how to budget, all while you stay in a loop from your phone. You're still in control, but they get to learn how money really works in everyday life. So before the summer rush kicks in, this is a great way to help your kids build smart money habits that'll stick with them long after the season's over. Head over to TrueMark.com/Greenlight to get all the details and sign up today. Don't miss a chance to set your kids up for financial success. We also want to tell you about Ace Hardware. Ace Hardware Home Services offers a wide range of residential maintenance, installation, and home repair services, including plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical. They offer free estimates on equipment installation and replacement with trusted advisors and options that are best suited for your home and budget. At Ace Hardware Home Services, whenever they get ready for the next job, they remember what to bring. They bring experience, local plumbers, and techs that handle everything from repairs and seasonal maintenance to installations and upgrades. They bring understanding, they listen to your goals, and the job isn't completed until you're satisfied. And they bring helpful to your home, so you can spend more of your time on the projects that really matter. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at www.acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project.
Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast. Here on a Friday as we head into the weekend. Do want to tell you, though, a lot of people during the weekend are going to go out there and decide to golf. Let me tell you about the PHLY Liberty Golf Open, the second annual Liberty Golf Open. Join us at Valley Brook Country Club for the second annual there, presented by Xfinity. That will be on June 14th from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. right here locally, as I said, at Valley Brook Country Club in New Jersey. Xfinity combines the power of internet and mobile in one all-in plan, getting lightning fast speeds at home and secure network on the go. Restrictions do apply. Xfinity Internet required actual speed vary. The 4-person scramble includes, though, as you look and go to our allphly.com website as a diehard member to sign up, you're like, oh, I keep forgetting to get into it. Well, it includes the limited edition PHLY golf tee gift. I didn't even know we were having this, and I would like a golf tee gift. Prizes and post-round dinner and draft beer, along with a great raffle, including Philly memorabilia. And also, as part of the foursomes, you can team up with some of our talent here at PHLY, from Fran Duffy as part of his own foursome. Jamie Lynch, the same. Rich Hoffman, another, will have a foursome. And Tyler Zulli and his dad are looking for 2 to join their team as you go out there on the golf course on the 14th. All you have to do is visit allphly.com/events to learn more and purchase an individual or the foursome that we just talked about, the reservation for the tournament. Die-Hard members are eligible to save $50 on a foursome. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, let's talk about the best defender in this class would be who, Derek? Not talking about shot blocker. We can get to that later.
Yes.
That's an individual category right there. But the best defender in this one, in the lottery, you said maybe stretch it out to about 20. So let's stretch it out to about 20, the top 20 picks here, top 20 prospects. Who would you deem right now as the best defender in this class?
I think it's probably Collin Murray-Boyles. I just think his combination of being so positionally sound and then also having the, sort of quick twitch reflexes and then also the, wingspan and the standing reach. I think he is the best overall defender of this group. Like it's just rare to have that combination of he's always in the right spot. He's a great communicator. He's always making second and third efforts. And also he's able to make defensive plays to sort of get you out in transition. Usually that kind of defensive playmaking comes at the expense of being positionally sound because you take gambles, and he doesn't do that. I just think, his combination, and he's strong, like physically strong. He can defend a wide range of archetypes. I think he is the pretty easy answer in there.
Could you see him playing playoff minutes for a playoff team right now?
Defensively, 100%.
Yes,
if you can make these guys two or one-way players like football, I think he would be an incredible playoff player right now.
Yeah.
I worry that he can't shoot. Not only can't shoot, but he won't shoot. Yeah, no, I worry about that. But no, I think he is, and maybe the shooting will limit how long he'd be able to play in the playoffs right now, but I think you can get 15 to 20 minutes from him right now. I think his defensive game, his understanding, his playmaking is at advance. He would come in, and I very rarely say this because I think for the most part it takes everyone, but especially big men, a little bit of time to acclimate themselves. Like there's just so much responsibility on the defensive side of the court, especially if he's going to play some small ball center where you have to be able to diagnose coverages, diagnose plays, and call that out to your defense so quickly that it's tough for a young big man to really excel at that. I think he can do that.
The comparisons that he's already gotten defensively, forget about the Julius Randle stuff, but to see people talking about him like he could be, and Kyle has mentioned him, as a little bit of a Draymond Green type of clone here in the NBA. That's an impressive guy because, look, for all the people who have their concerns and their issues with Draymond Green talking, how he conducts himself on the floor, he is elite, all-time defender for what he does at that size, being able to defend 1 through 5 and how he does it. And to have those types of comparisons for a young player who, number one, was not a player that was highly ranked coming out of high school, went back as a freshman, even though he had some late first round, early second round conversation a year ago in South Carolina, to now put himself in the lottery for where we're talking about the Sixers maybe moving down if you go to 7 and you get Herb Jones in it, because you get another guy that can't shoot, but man, that defense with Herb Jones and Collin Murray-Boyles with the rest of the Sixers, that would be something that could be pretty impactful at that spot. But even looking, and when you do say, all right, let me mock him at Brooklyn or mock him to the Raptors and those types of teams.
I think the Raptors are a real good fit for him.
Yeah, or even if he slips to 10 and you're talking about another defender to the Houston Rockets at that 10th overall spot for a playoff team, man, that's a really, really good basketball player. So from Hedva and a few others in the chat immediately saying CMB, and it's not even close, I agree with you. Once his body, because he has like that Draymond Green body where he's a bigger guy in terms of you can see how strong he is, but he's not defined at all. He's just like a straight up and down kind of guy. And once he gets into the weight program with his NBA organization, I mean, Derek, even at 21 years of age right now, you're going to start to see all that stuff just fill out the way it's supposed to fill out, and he's going to be a terror.
Yeah. No, I have very little doubt about his defense. The jumper terrifies me, but I have very little doubt about defense. So if we cross CMB off the board, who would be your next go-to?
Yeah, see, I would go Carter Bryant.
Yeah, that was exactly where I was going.
Yeah, I would go Carter Bryant. And again, the offense hasn't catch up, but it doesn't look like it's as bad as the CMB part.
He's at least got the catch and shoot shot down.
Yeah, which is weird because is it that, well, because maybe because the CMB part is like, no, his has a chance to be elite where Carter Bryant, my comp for him, and I remember saying it to you guys, was could he be, if he turned out to be like OG Anunoby, you got something there. And that's a really good basketball player. So I would say Carter Bryant would be my second choice. And because of the catch and shoot, the fact that
he's another one where he's got a pretty quick release.
Yeah, he does.
And it looks pretty repeatable and consistent. I like he truly might be just a 3-and-D specialist, but I think he can be like a lot of times, and hat tip to my former colleague, Mike O'Connor, but 3-and-D is a lot of times what we sort of bucket people as when they don't have the skill to be much more than that. And a lot of times the defense doesn't necessarily translate all that well. And the three-point shooting, there's a lot of volatility to it, like we mentioned before. I fully believe in Carter Bryant on both the three-point shot and the defense. And that is a really, really useful player to have on your roster.
And as a guy at Arizona who would sometimes start or come off the bench, you could see, though, where other, like Caleb Love was the star of the team. He was the veteran. He was the leader of that basketball team. You could see who the one that was the lottery pick on that squad. And it was easily him. And it wasn't even close. And so I'll ask you this because Joaquin asked us from Cherry Hill, VJ. What about VJ? Where does he fit in this?
Probably would have been my third answer to this, yeah. Okay. I do think VJ can get a little bit caught gambling a little bit too much. But I think he has the ability. I mean, look, when you have, and people get on his wingspan, it's not a great wingspan at like 6'7" or whatever it is, 6'7", 6'8", somewhere in that range. But it's a good enough to be a capable perimeter defender. Combine that with his effort and his athleticism, and I think as he matures and grows, he will get through screens really well. I think he's going to be a very good defender. Maybe not quite stopper level, maybe a little more of like ball hawk, that kind of defensive player, but I think he's going to be very good. He would have been my third answer on this.
Mellow 3-point in the chat says, trade back and take Carter Bryant. How far back would you be willing to go? Bringing back another player, swapping spots in the lottery from, let's say, a specific team. How early would you feel comfortable taking Carter Bryant in the lottery if you did trade back?
I think on my latest big board, I had him like 12.
Okay.
I think 11 or 12. Yeah, I think he has a very real chance of being a lottery pick. I could see him even going as high as 10. Like, I think that archetype is really valuable. I think a lot of people really believe in him in that regard, and there's a lot of uncertainty in the later half of, there's uncertainty in pretty much the entire lottery outside of 2, which has been a theme of our show for the last month. But I certainly think in that second half, he is a known quantity and a valued commodity in a league that really desperately needs size on the wings that can both defend multiple positions and shoot. So I think he has a chance of going anywhere in that 10 to 14 range.
Because Duck Holiday is right where I was going to go and ask you this. So if we talk about the Herb Jones Sixers swap, right? Herb Jones and 7 to the Sixers, New Orleans picks up 3. Because of who you get back, would you consider him over CMB with Herb Jones at 7? Just because, again, we're talking 2 non-shooters when it comes to CMB and Herb Jones. Even though Herb Jones has shown some, like even in the playoffs, that one year that they made it to the play-in, he was shooting confidently as a rookie, and it looked like, oh, this guy might actually be able to shoot the basketball. But for this exercise only in the question that Duck is saying and what I'm asking you here, would you even consider that player over CMB because of who you're getting back from New Orleans in Jones?
I think you have to consider it just because he would be such a better fit. And
again,
that shooting is so
it's
important.
Who you want. It doesn't matter, right? It's who you want, who you feel comfortable taking.
I do think CMB is a better defensive prospect. And if he figures out that shot, he could really, really pop. I have so much uncertainty and so much concern with that shot. And I really don't know, outside of small ball 5 minutes, I don't know how, if he doesn't develop that shot, that's going to be a real hindrance to his ability to play 35 minutes per night. I think Carter Bryant might be safer, but I might swing for the fences. I like CMB a lot. And I think that archetype of a defender is more unique. I think it's probably more of a competitive advantage. And like I said, if that shot, because you don't need him to really do much offense, because he's already pretty good as a short roller. He's pretty good driving with his left and finishing inside. He's got some, I think, real passing chops that could be unlocked if anyone has to defend him beyond 10 feet. So if that jumper pops, it's really should be a reasonable projection for most players to make. It's just he hasn't shown it at all. But if he has that outlier development, then I think there's a lot of growth in his game.
Okay.
I'd probably go CMB, but I think Carter Bryant.
But you would think about it.
Well, I think Carter Bryant's honestly, he's probably safer and he's an easier fit with what you have.
Yeah. Last one in the chat before we get to the next category of shot blocking that I wanted to throw at you. Sean Wolford in the chat says, Tari Eason and 10. Of course, to Houston for, it's Oubre and 3 to Houston for 10 and Eason. Houston trades 3 and a couple of young players in Sally Filler for Durant. So that's on the Houston side. But you getting back 10 and Eason, would that interest you?
I mean,
or is that too far back?
Ideally, you'd want to be ahead of that, but I think Tari Eason's a really intriguing young player, and he has just. If you want to talk about who would be the best defender in this class, he might be the best defender in this class.
Yeah, and I'm starting him if I get him.
Yeah,
forget about that.
So if you get him and I'd consider it, but like I said, I'm more down on the third pick than I think most people in this chat.
Yeah,
I like Tari Eason a lot. I think he can really grow.
No, but since Sean brought it up, and I know how you are about the third pick, so it was no, that's an interesting one.
I don't know who I would take with 10 though in that scenario. I'd have to really think about who fits. I have to think about that, but yeah, I'd be interested. I like Tari Eason a lot.
Yeah, because that's where the Carter Bryant range is in.
Does he have one more year left on his rookie deal?
Yeah. That would be really, really interesting.
Yeah, I like Tari a lot.
Yeah, so Tari Eason, that's Kyle's guys too. So Tari Eason and Carter Bryant, or Tari Eason does a guard slip that maybe you liked a little bit and they slipped a little bit in the lottery where fears maybe he falls all the way down to 10 and something, and then you're like, okay, I just have to take him because of the value.
Or even someone who we talked about a lot earlier, like Yakachunas. You don't have comfort taking him at 3 or 4 or even 6, but
10 and Eason.
Yeah, if you start getting to that range and his passing, which I do think is a real weapon, and I think his step back jumper is a real weapon too. If he can figure out some other things and he's got those 2 already bankable skills, then I think he could end up, that's an intriguing option to me at 10.
That would be interesting. And if Kon Knuppel slips to 10, then that would just be a no-brainer. At that point. All right. You know what? We're going to take a pause. We come back. We'll get to the shot blocker. Who's the best shot blocker in the draft? In the top 20? In the lottery, who's the best shot blocker? We got the defender. We all agree that it's CMB, and then it's Carter Bryant, VJ third. How about the best shot blocker? We'll talk about that when we get back. And could they be in the mix for the Philadelphia 76ers even if they trade down? We'll do it right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. Oh, folks, I'm back in the mix because of Rothman Orthopedics, and I see that Damian Lillard is rehabbing, looking pretty good, right? He's getting the things done. You see some others getting cut under the knife. I hope you already saw Jason Tatum got it done. I had to do the same thing with my Achilles, and I went right to Rothman Orthopedics, and maybe it's not an injury as severe as mine or Tatum's or Lillard, and you're just simply dealing with just getting back to being a weekend warrior, something that you love, or gardening, running with the kids, whatever it may be. Your body hasn't been cooperating. That's where Rothman Orthopedic comes in. Whether it's the pain from playing your favorite sport, an old injury, age simply catching up, Rothman's team of experts is here to help you with evidence-based care and a mission to restore your mobility, and they'll get you back on your feet and back to doing what you love. Patients will find the full spectrum of orthopedic care at Rothman Orthopedics, from diagnosis to discharge. They provide their patients with every service and procedure necessary, such as x-rays, orthotics, and bracings, MRIs, PT, and much more. And I raised my hand because I had to do it all, and that was courtesy of Rothman Orthopedics. Year over year, Rothman consistently performs among the highest volumes of hip, knee, shoulder, and ankle replacements in the country, and that's over 60,000. So if you're in need to be checked out for one of those injuries that I just laid out for you, for more information, visit rothmanortho.com/landing/PHLY. Also, I have to tell you, after you get that workout in from the PT, right? Or you're back on the floor because they took care of you and getting you right, now you need to smell good. You got to clean up, you got to take a shower, and you got to go to my good people from Mando. Mando is the new men's deodorant brand that has hyper-focus on keeping every aspect of a man's body smelling fresh and clean. And I got to tell you, I was over my cousin's. He didn't even know that we had done this. I think he might have missed the ad because he does watch the show. And I was walking, I was in there. He was putting some stuff away. My cousin, right, we're just walking around the place. And he had the Mando can in his hand. And I'm like, yo, Mando, you've been listening to the show. He was like, well, I was using this already. Cool. Well, guess what? You need to be like us and go get the Mando because, look, it's perfect for pits, the belly buttons, the lower regions after you work out and you're all sweaty. You take a shower and you got to spray and you're all clean and you need to smell fresh. Well, Mando is very important, to make sure that you have all that covered. So it's the whole body deodorant, safe to use anywhere on your body. As I just laid out, it's created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. Derek has the can. He doesn't even need to smell his pits because he has his own. All products baking soda free and paraben free. Choose from a variety of fresh scents like bourbon leather, clover woods, Mount Fuji, or Pro Sport. All there at Mando, and it's just a fantastic thing. I've been using it. If we run into each other around the draft, you might smell the Mando on me because it's a pretty good smell. It's a pretty good scent overall. All right, use code PHLY at shopmando.com. And as a special offer for our listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to 40% off of that starter pack. Shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast. All right. Shot blocker. Who's the guy?
This is an interesting one because I feel like most of the really good shot blockers this is like the one elite skill where like people fall.
By the way, I've got to take off my shirt. I might need some I need to respray my Mando. It's a little warm in here.
Your shirt or your jacket?
Just a shirt.
Okay.
Just a shirt.
I didn't know what kind of show we were trying to have here tonight.
Just a jean shirt. And Bree said it's so hot in here. And I'm normally the cold one in here, right?
Well, usually the office is cold. It'll be like really chilly in like the middle of July, but no, this time it's not.
Yeah, so there you go. Where's my Mando can?
So I think
Heva. I like where Heva went on this one.
Yeah, but we were limiting it to like top 20 prospects.
We are limited to top 20.
So it really just comes down to like Maluach or like maybe Sorber, but like it's for a potential lottery pick, it's Maluach almost.
So do you want to extend it? Just because there aren't as many bigs as far as the shot blocking goes?
I would say I think Kalkbrenner is a more realized version. Like I think his timing, his rotations are better than Maluach
and he's been playing much longer.
He's been he's older and he's been playing much longer. So yeah, I think he is a better one right now. I think when you project it, like what will be the elite skill, I think it still might be Maluach just because his combination of, size at 7'2" with the freaking Wemby-esque standing reach and mobility, like he should be able to cover so much ground where even if he's not in perfect position, he's going to alter a lot of shots. But right now it's I would say Kalkbrenner is right now, if you're going to extend it to the entire first round, and Maluach is the projection. Yeah.
So as far as the projection for the lottery, it's Maluach.
Yeah.
For the draft itself, it's Kalkbrenner. Yeah. Again, the experience. We talk about when we look at the evaluation of Maluach, he hasn't been playing as long because he started late. Kalkbrenner, we know, has been playing forever here in the States. And then he is much older as a player who played 5 years in college.
And Kalkbrenner's he's like going to be 24.
Yeah. He's played 5 years at Creighton. And
Maluach has played 5 years, period. Not at college, just period.
Right. So, that's where it goes to Kalkbrenner because he understands the timing. He understands all of that stuff, the intricacies of being a shot blocker. It's why he's going to be drafted. As we looked at our 35 range, and he was one of the players that I named, and Kyle said, look, because the guy can simply defend the paint and defend the rim. Maluach, he can do so as well, but he might get caught a couple of times. It's gonna take some time for him to get it right. Not saying that he's gonna come in Kalkbrenner as a second round pick and start for anyone, but you can put him on the floor, and the one thing, they may try to play him away from the rim, they may try to pull him away from the basket, but if he is in there in the paint, that guy can absolutely defend that paint and block shots.
100%.
Yes. All right, let's get to the next one as we keep this one rolling. Who's the best passer in this draft?
I think it's probably Jaeger-Demin. And I don't know if he's going to end up being a lottery pick. He's going to be like right around
probably top 20 though.
Tail end of the lottery.
Yeah.
Because he's got so many questions with his shot and quite frankly, just his ability to score in the half court. He's not, he's huge. Like, what is he, 6'9"-ish?
Yeah. Yep.
But he's not very physically developed, and he gets bumped off his spots a little bit. But when you look at his ability to, the pass just off the dribble, like one-handed passes across court, and not only the vision, and look, being 6'9" helps a ton with vision. You literally see things that other players don't, but also he has really great anticipatory vision as well, and also the location of the passes. Like, Yakachonis will make some really impressive passes, but he'll miss the mark on some where, like, it won't hit shooters in a shooting pocket. You watch Demin, and it is pretty much every time it's hitting the guy right in the shooting pocket.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to see it. It's another thing to even execute it, which I think other players like Yakachonis will do. But if the pass isn't there and the shooter's got to go out of his rhythm and has got to take him an extra half second to gather the ball, that impacts the ability to get that shot off. And Demin is just, I think, far and away the best passer in this lottery range. It's a shame he doesn't really, that shot, because he tried reworking his shot in the offseason this past year. And he came out in like the first 5 or 6 games. He was having a little bit of success with it. And then he started missing a lot and struggling. And I think he kind of reverted a little bit. If he figures out that shot, whenever you have a skill that's that elite and you combine that with that size, he's a guy, if the Sixers had like a 14th, 15th, 16th pick in this draft, I'd have a lot of interest trying to take, just because if he's able to figure out the one part of the game that's you pretty much can't live without, but it's one thing that you can learn later in life, I think he could be a really intriguing.
So I'm not up as much as you are on the foreign players, especially the point guards in this draft. Where do any of those guards fit into when we talk about Saraf and who's the other one? The guard, Traore, is it? How do you?
Yeah, Traore.
Traore.
I honestly have to watch a little bit more Traore. Hedva right now is screaming for it, I'm sure. I mean, I think Demin is the best passer.
Yeah.
Traore, I know, has a lot of people who are really intrigued by it. Like I said, I have to watch a little bit more personally. And Saraf, I think, is really intriguing as well. He's, I think, a little bit more capable of getting in the middle of the defense, keeping a live dribble, and being able to spray it out to his shooters, whereas Demin struggles a little more, I think, with the physicality of getting in the middle of the paint. But I think Demin is pretty far and away the best passer in this group.
Where's Harper and Fierce fall into this category?
I mean, they're a lot more predicated on their ability to get to the rim. So they will force more rotations than some of these guys. And that's really the sticking point. Like, it's one thing to have great passing, but like being able to force a rotation, and like forcing a rotation is one way to sort of like create a passing lane. So even if maybe someone like Fears, I don't think has as much natural court vision as Demin, he might be able to create more passing lanes, just because I think when he develops, he's going to be able to put a ton of pressure on the rim and force a lot of rotations.
Yeah.
And Harper is just a more realized version of that, where because he's so much physically stronger and able to finish inside, he causes so many rotations that he then uses to open up passing lanes and kickouts.
I can't wait to see where you have Demin in the mock draft. I'm very curious to see where he is.
I think he was just outside the lottery. I think it was like 16.
Is there a perfect fit for him that you see of the teams? As I look at, I look at these teams, and we talk about the 20s, like Brooklyn has back-to-back picks, and Minnesota has 17. That's an interesting spot for him also.
Yep.
That type of player. Atlanta, interesting one. Washington, yes, but no.
I think Washington is where I ended up mocking him too, if I remember right.
Yeah.
I think Washington at 18 is where he might
have
have gone. Yeah, I mean, look, I think anyone with multiple picks should be taking someone like that, because, like I said, if he figures out his shot, I think he could end up overshooting that draft slot pretty easily.
Yep. All right, that's the passing.
It's just really unique to get like an elite skill at like 20 or 18.
Right. Yeah. So that's the passing. Let's move to the best athlete in this draft. Is this where VJ Edgecombe comes into play here for the best athlete, or do you go somewhere else? Because there are some pretty good ones in the lottery when you look at Newell, and obviously VJ. Ace is a pretty good athlete, and you see some other Tre surprising people at the combine with what he was able to do. Who's the best athlete? So
again, I said this on yesterday's show. I'm not going by any combine numbers when I judge athletes. I don't find it all that useful. I never really have. And a lot of the players like VJ and Ace, I think, were pretty underwhelming athletically at the combine. Don't really give a darn. And I want to pat myself on the back. I said darn when I had multiple other words I wanted to say, but I'm trying to be a good partner.
We're not in overtime yet.
I do think it's probably VJ, especially when you factor in like open court speed, ability to play in transition, ability to elevate off ball like that. He's not perfect. Like he doesn't have the kind of burst, I think, with his first step that you would ideally want in like a high usage guard, which is probably why I don't really think he's primed to be an elite on-ball creator. But I think when you factor in all of the athletic tools, and not only that, but like body control, things of that sort, I think especially among the options in the lottery, like we can start getting into other options, maybe someone like Cedric Coward or something like that, but they're not guaranteed to be a lottery pick. Or someone like Drake Powell, he's not going to be a lottery pick. I think when you zoom into lottery picks, I think it's VJ.
All right, so can you now talk about, give us a little bit on, as a little bit earlier in the show when we were talking about Tre Johnson, Kon Knuppel, and some of those when we talk about the best at their particular skill set, and the Sixers, VJ as the player and as the athlete, how does he fit best? Why does he make sense for the Sixers as a guy who can fit with the team? And then ultimately down the line, not even down the line in a couple of years, but more down the line in next spring, as we get ready for another playoff conversation with this basketball team, his athleticism, him as a player, how does that fit with the Sixers, especially if you still mock him at 3?
Yeah, well, I mean, partly that athleticism shows up on the defensive side of the floor, which we talked about when we ranked him as the 3rd best defender among lottery prospects. Again, in the non-Cooper Flagg division. I'm ignoring Cooper Flagg in pretty much all of these because he is going number 1 and you can't, don't get your hopes up. So in the non-Cooper Flagg division, I think he was a top 3 defender in the lottery, and he leverages that athleticism to help him become that. Off-ball shooting, I actually think he's pretty good, and he has pretty repeatable motion off-ball. Not in an Ace Bailey, Kon Knuppel category, but in terms of some people will call him a non-shooter, and I don't think that's fair. I think he'll make shots off the catch. And dogged defender, and a guy who can get out in transition. I don't think he's a terrible passer. I don't think he necessarily creates the kind of rotations that would make him a super plus passer at that position, but I think he's a pretty decent read and react kind of guy. And at some point, you're also buying in a little bit to him as a player and a worker. There are a lot of pretty good workers in this range. Like we've talked a bunch that Ace Bailey gets good reviews from the people who know him. Tre Johnson gets really good reviews from the people who know him. But VJ gets outstanding, best in class, one of the best you'll ever see kind of reviews. And I think when you look at how quickly he's developed and become the player that he has, he's another one who picked up the game pretty late in life, at least compared to most other prospects. And you look at the way he fit, playing in the international ball, I think there's room to grow. And I don't think a lot of people will look at him and you'll see, which you always do for top draft prospects, but you'll see some pretty wild projections. Victor Oladipo type, that kind. And look, Victor Oladipo as a freshman wasn't anything outstanding either, but it's always tough to project edge case outlier level development, which is why I push back on a lot of the ace ones as well. But I think it's reasonable to say he's going to be significantly better in future years and in NBA spacing. But, like I mentioned with everyone, I don't feel 100% great on any one of these at 3 because you're almost predicting which one will have that outlier development, and it's real tough.
Okay. All right. Did we miss any category that you wanted to get into? We went through all of them passing. Sixer fans talk about rebounding, but it's hard to gauge as rebounding guys coming in. Is there anyone any category that we missed?
That's probably a good summary of the categories. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's all that we came up with before the show.
Yeah.
Unless I'm forgetting one.
No, I don't think there's anything else that we really.
I guess maybe just ball handling and dribble drive and ability to get to the brim. Maybe that.
Yeah.
What do you got for that? I think this might be your boy.
Yeah, I would say Fears.
Yeah.
I would say Fears for the ball handling.
I think he's just got the most confident dribble in traffic out of all these people. And look, dribbling isn't really the strength of most of these prospects, right, if we're being honest. I think he's got the most comfortable, handle in traffic and the most ability to change speed, change direction, decelerate, things of that sort that make him a real threat off the dribble. And I think he's got the most ability to get to the rim.
Yeah, I think his handle is really tight. I think he has confidence when you talk about just getting into the paint and all that stuff. He has confidence in whatever he's doing when it comes to that. So when I look at Fears, I look at the ball handling overall, and I give him the edge in this one because,
thank you, Bree.
To your point, it's transition dribbling. It's breaking down the defense and getting out of trouble spots and still being able to be under control. We oftentimes talk about point guards or guards in general where they don't get really sped up. Well, he's sped up just because of the speed, but he can also decelerate. And when he gets there, he makes the good decisions. When we look back at a lot of the games at Oklahoma, a lot of his assist numbers weren't there just simply because they didn't catch and finish the way that we thought they should have based on the pass that was received from Fears. So I think when it comes to the overall ball handling and the dribbling, he has the tightest handle in the draft. He's going to be a young point guard that comes into the NBA is going to make mistakes. And if he's on a bad team especially, that's okay because he has to learn and he has to take his warts. But when it comes to going into it right now, I think that he is the one that has the best overall handle and the one that I trust going into the league that it will remain that and if not get better.
Yeah. And that's in part why, and also just the way he's willing to throw his body around and get to the free throw line at,
and he's small
180
and doesn't
pounds.
care.
Yeah.
Right.
Really impressive. It's also why most of the projections I have to make with him to be like a high level player, you've got to make him almost across the board from perimeter shooting to a little bit of playmaking and passing and decision making, pull up shooting, getting stronger, all this stuff. But each of those projections feels like it's not a huge leap, which is why it's kind of a shame that the Sixers are as vertically challenged as they are. Because I would love to talk about him a lot as a prospect because he's one of the ones I really believe in. I just think he's a really bad fit in Philadelphia.
Yeah, he's going to be the one that I'm watching in New Orleans. That I'm keeping an eye on him in New Orleans to see what his development looks like because I really like him as a player. I really do.
We also want to remind you, do you think you know ball? We've got another ball knower bonus that we want to tell you about. For each game of the NBA Finals, which you could have played last night, all you have to do is pick the winner of the game. You can win a gift card to the PHLY merch store if you make the pick correctly. Here's how it works. First, click the link in the description below and then make your pick. Then you place an order in the All City merch store with a $25 minimum. If you pick correctly, you get a gift card to the merch store for the same amount as your original order. One important thing, you must click the link in the chat or in our show notes to qualify for the gift card. So coming up, we are going to pick the winners of each NBA Finals games, which if you listened yesterday, we missed on that one, but we will get back to it for game 2. So again, for ball knowers, make your pick, then place an order. If you pick correctly, you're going to get a gift card from us for the same amount as your order. That's the ball knower bonus from PHLY.
Let's get to the super chats here on the show. We had 2 of them. Sean, who we referenced a little bit earlier. What up, Sean? Says, Kon Knuppel.
Okay.
When we were talking about the shooters earlier.
Sounds like Sean is a Kon Knuppel fan.
Yes.
Yeah.
We like him too.
Oh, absolutely.
We like him too.
He's absolutely in the range of, I don't think he's currently in my top 5, but he's within that range. Like that 5 through 7, I think he would be a great spot for.
Thank you, Sean, for the super chat. Riaz says, Devon, would you be mad with Tre Johnson at 3? I would not be mad with Tre Johnson at 3. Good player.
Devon was probably the first one of us to get in on Tre Johnson.
Yeah, we had some discussions during the regular season, college basketball regular season, NBA regular season with Tre. And yes, big fan. I was a little disappointed with some things that he did within the flow of the college basketball season. Even when they got to the tournament, I thought that the play-in game that they played in Dayton wasn't all that great. While he performed okay, I just wanted him to play a little bit better, especially knowing that he was probably going to be a guy that's a lottery selection. So giving him another chance to come into the NCAA tournament, play a game or 2, and put some more tape out there for everyone to see. But it seems like it hasn't hurt him at all, Riaz. So, yes, I would not have a problem with the Sixers taking Tre Johnson at 3. If they decided to move back to 4 or 5 to do so, pick up an extra asset, and they felt like he would be there, I'm okay with that. But if they decided to go 3 because of where they are, this is a unique situation, and they have identified him as their player, I'm fine with it. I would have no problem with Tre Johnson at pick number 3, Riaz. How about you, Derek, when it comes to him simply at 3?
Yeah, no, he's absolutely in play.
Yep.
100%.
Yep. Brian Pumper with the late super chat saying Maury got to get his get out of jail free card with the number 3 pick. Ace is the place. It's a no-brainer, a given. Pick Ace, you pass go, and collect $200. That's our Pump It Up segment here on the show, the final one of the week, where Pump is pushing for Ace Bailey and using the Monopoly reference, which is a good one.
Stunning. No, look, I think if you actually sit down and watch a lot of him, I'm not going to say he shouldn't be in play at 3, but I think if you think it's a no-brainer, I think you got to put in a little more work. I think it's way more complicated than that. I can't stand the, don't overthink it. No, like enough of these busts that you do have to think it. And you have to overthink it.
I think I said don't overthink it in my short that I did for Ace Bailey, but that was a long time ago. Because you got to think it when we get into the process, and there's no guaranteed number 3 overall pick here for the NBA draft. Thank you, everybody. Riaz, Pump, and Sean for the Super Chats. I got to ask you, Derek, you just talked about the NBA Finals. We did say that stealing game 1 could be a possibility because of the time off, all that stuff. But that was before we saw that the 15-point lead that was there for the Oklahoma City Thunder in the second half. And Indiana does what Indiana does.
Well, even like in a weird way, I felt more confident in OKC winning after like the first quarter. What did the Pacers have? Like 11 first quarter turnovers, something absurd
and
like
19 at the half.
Yeah, and like they just could not get into their offense. And there was a point where you keep looking up and you go, yeah, man, they're winning the turnover battle by like 15 to 20. They should be up by more than 12 here. Like their offense isn't looking all that crisp. They're relying on Shea a lot. Like a lot of those shots I don't necessarily love. And Indy is starting to launch those threes. And even when they were up like 12 in the second half, I started getting a little nervous, in part because Indy's just done this so many times. But in part because it just didn't seem like OKC was playing at a super high level offensively. Defensively, they were great, especially in the first half, especially in the first quarter. The way they can swarm, and we talked about this a lot yesterday, is really, really impressive. But man, you cannot give Halliburton a chance to bring them back, because right now
he didn't even play well.
No. First half, it's like you're wondering, is the stage too big for him? He's not asserting himself like you want. They're turning the ball over a bunch. You're not getting into offense. But man, 5 game-winning shots in 1 playoff run? This is like historic. You've never seen anything like this.
It is. It's the NBA players, those 13 players. That's all you need to vote him overrated, most overrated player. Now he's going on a legendary run, man, that got him to the finals. Even if they don't win the finals, it's like, so what? Because look at what he's done. My issue with last night was OKC looked like they went in the version of football prevent offense because they had their double-digit lead late. I was talking
to Bo. If there's one team you can't go into prevent against, it's this squad.
And that's my problem, because there are examples already, Derek, of they have come back against the Milwaukee Bucks, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the New York Knicks, and now they have gotten you in the same spot on your home floor. How do you let that happen after seeing that play itself out already? I don't care that at that spot with 2 minutes to go and you're up the way you are. I don't care that Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren were like 8 for 20, whatever. Right. You have a 9-point lead or whatever the number was. You just hold the lead. Still stay aggressive and get to the basket. Shea taking that fadeaway shot while that's his shot. Things weren't working. Go, attack, get to the free throw line, because you were getting to the free throw line and having success in doing so. So that's where I had the problem with Oklahoma City. The example was already there in the first 3 matchups they had in the Eastern Conference. And they did that exact same thing to those other teams. And while you are better, yes, you are. You had 68 wins during the regular season. You are not immune to that happening to you on that stage, because none of you have been there before in a game 1 of an NBA Finals. So that's where my problem was, that they decided to go and prevent offense and not stay aggressive, where I had a problem with the Knicks doing it, where they were up 9 with 52 seconds. And it's the same thing that Oklahoma City did. And the example was already there for you not to let that happen, as it happened in the 3 other series that they had. And as we say this, and I know Derek has something to say, we're going into overtime at allphly.com. So thank you all on the television side, not only today, but all week. Join us at allphly.com to finish off the show.
So when he took that shot, because you mentioned it, going to his right, didn't look like he had great balance.
That is hard to do as a right-handed shooter.
And it didn't look super smooth. Even so, I'm like
a double pump.
That's absolutely going in, because that's just the way the playoffs are going for him right now.
Because even when he shot it against the Knicks, right? that last second shot that bounced all the way up in the air and then fell through the rim. When he took that, I was like, that's not going in. All right, cool. We got away with it. Let's regroup, come back. We got a 1-0 lead, win game 2. Let's head to Indianapolis with the 2-0 lead. This is what they've done, man, all season. And when he did that again, the one that I did think was going in was the Nembhard, where he was like bang, 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 and then step back 3 over Shea. And those guys have been playing against each other for years because, the Canadian guys, and they've played it together in for the national team and all that stuff. So they know each other's games. But when he gave him that, that between the legs 3 times bang, and then the step back 3, and then I was like, that one's good because of the theater of the game for where the time and situation is. That's good. But I didn't think that Harold Burton would have another shot to do that and then make it. You can point out a few things, man. The lane violation, which they very rarely call. Lou Dort, they're pushing and shoving. He and Nembhard on behind the 3-point line, behind the 3-point shooter. Pascal Siakam missed the first one. Second one he misses. Lane violation. That was costly. That was because that's a single point. You have to take a 3 at that point if that's the case. But instead, they just went with the 2 in that spot. And the Turner 3-pointer that banked in from the wing, that was crazy. And Nesmith with a tough 3-pointer once again. So just all in all, man.
Thomas Bryant hitting corner threes.
Another corner 3. What is happening? TJ McConnell, they leaving him open. He's hitting 3s. He had 9 points. Oh, man, it was crazy. But we said Thunder in 6. So Thunder in 6.
Well, I said 5.
Oh, you
so
said
I'm
5.
sweating a little bit now.
I did say 6.
I mean, I'm sweating because it's also hot in the studio, but I'm also sweating because of my prediction.
Yeah. So there you go, man. They did it again, man. It's like the cardiac Pacers. They just do it, and they get it done.
Yeah.
They get it done. All right, a couple of news and notes things here before we step away for the weekend. Derek, I wanted to throw this one at you. According to our very own, our partner, Mark Stein, from DLLS Mavs, and of course the Mark Stein Substack. Hope you all are signed up for that. Our buddy Jake Fisher, a part of that as well. Mark Stein says that the Knicks are expected to request permission to speak to Mavs head coach Jason Kidd. So when we talked about with Seth Greenberg earlier in the week, who are some of the candidates, we threw out there the obvious one of Mike Malone. Kyle reminded us of Taylor Jenkins, who we had forgot about, that he was on the open market, and just the other young assistants that are Johnny Bryant, who didn't get the job. Jordan Ott got it for the Phoenix Suns. They were the 2 finalists. Mark Jackson, Ime Udoka, names that were thrown out there. There's a report already that Ime Udoka is not a part of that, but stay tuned kind of for this Jason Kidd thing. What do you think?
I mean, it's interesting. I don't like what would be Dallas's reasoning for letting that.
More of Jason Kidd not wanting to be there after whatever happened with the Luka Doncic situation.
Has that really been like report? Like, is he like really upset? Like the point where he's going to leave?
I don't know. But remember, he said he had no idea. Most people think he's lying, that he did. He was informed about it, but that doesn't mean he agreed with it. And even though you're getting Cooper Flagg, you were a finals participant a year ago, and they took that away from you with one of the boneheaded trades of the decade, and with that one. So it's an interesting one. I didn't expect his name to come up. I just didn't.
Yeah, and
I'm intrigued.
Kids had this before where he went from Brooklyn to Milwaukee, and so like he can get.
What's the compensation? Just picks?
I assume so.
Can't be player.
That's
what has to be picks, right?
Doc got or the Celtics got for Doc way back in the day, right?
Yeah.
It was I think a single first round pick.
Yeah,
if I remember.
Yep.
It wasn't what I was expecting, but that's just because he's a current head coach.
Right. So that one was interesting. Also, another one. And staying with the coaching part, Ian Begley reports that Chris Finch is also a target for them to maybe reach out to the Minnesota Timberwolves and see if he has any interest in leaving Minnesota.
They're really not trying to do anything creative here, are they? Like, give me the current head coaches and let me see what I can get.
Well, who else? I mean, I don't know. The East could be potentially open next year.
Yeah.
And you want to strike, while the iron's
Look,
hot.
I think Chris Finch is a really good coach. So if you can get him to leave, I get it.
Yeah.
But again, if I'm Minnesota, I'm
saying no.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah, especially with the new ownership, with Alex Rodriguez and the other. It was I forgot the other guy's name. I don't even want to botch that one, but I would say no for that one as well. Dallas, I'd be like, all right, cool. If Kid wants to go for it.
Yeah, I've never been a huge. Honestly, Kid has done better in Dallas, and I think I would have expected, but I was never a huge Kid fan before that.
Yep. Final one. Is it Gary or Jerry Werfel from Milwaukee? Remember the Bucks guy?
Yeah.
Reported that he was told that the Knicks are preparing for a, quote, tsunami-type offer for Giannis.
So the Knicks offering a tsunami-type offer. How many draft picks do we even have left to trade?
I think it's just, I don't know. But
they have a couple.
Obviously, there's going to be players.
They didn't put all of them in there for Mikhail, but they have a couple. I'm not sure if they have a tsunami level of
plus, you have players with big salaries.
Yeah.
That can match that, where you can get good players back, where it's not just rebuilding type of.
But I think Milwaukee needs to rebuild. Like, they might not want to, but I think they should. But I guess to your point, like, if you get a couple players back, you can then flip for additional first-round picks.
Yep.
You don't need to have 6 first-round picks to offer. I'm not sure if, and it's tough because, like you said, the young players or whoever you get back along with those picks, you might be able to flip for additional. But I have to double check their draft pick situation. It just feels like somebody should be able to beat them.
Because the names would be Towns, who's on a long-term deal. OG is on a long-term deal.
Yeah.
Kale has 1 year left.
If you're Milwaukee, like, do you really want people of that age? Like, I don't think Milwaukee's close to being relevant if they trade Giannis.
From the roster, there's no one else.
No, I hear you.
Yeah, so.
But that's why if I'm Milwaukee, I just look for a pick-heavy package.
Right.
Like something like Houston seems like a natural fit.
Yeah. Spurs, yeah, a natural fit.
I mean, look, just for friends of the family here, I hope. Unless he's part of that package, which he almost would have to be because
he has 1 year left.
1 year left, and he's still young enough where he has value across the league.
Or you can trade him.
But if he gets to play with him, I think that would be great for him. I'd be up for that, even though I hate seeing New York fans happy.
Yeah,
they seem like a tough fit, though.
Yeah,
I'd have to double check. I think they still have like 3 or 4 tradable first round picks. So
I think so.
I think they have some. I'm just not sure if they have enough for Giannis.
Yep. So those are the news and notes of the day. And we'll keep an eye on that because I would think Giannis, the Durant thing seems like it's going to happen by the deadline, by the draft. Giannis, I would think also would be traded by the draft too. I think because you want to incorporate, to your point, the picks.
Yeah.
In that one.
No, it's going to be a crazy offseason. It really is. Like those 2 names being out there is just wild.
Yeah.
And obviously Durant at his age, 36 going on 37. Not quite the same thing, but I mean, Giannis is like, these guys don't move more than once every decade. So, well, I say that, but Luka just got traded. But usually.
Well, at least we can see the Giannis thing potentially happen where we didn't see that one for Luka. All right, final one for Pump. He jumps in there with the VJ is Nuggets Russ, not worth the number 3 overall pick.
So, Brian Pumper, here's my question for you. With all of this money that you've spent, maybe get a microphone and then you can have your own show. And you can leave these really terrible VJ Edgecombe comparisons.
No, I like the super chat money. Thank you, B Pump. What are you doing, man? He's sending in the money. He's got a baby wingspan. He called it.
I just don't get it.
Yeah. Thank you, B Pump. We appreciate it. And with that one, since Derek doesn't get it, it's time for us to get out of here. And get ready for the weekend, and all of you start the weekend as well. We thank you as always. We really appreciate it. Let's get to the world-famous roll call. Did you jot down some names today?
I did.
All right.
I did. We'll start off with the Super Chats. Of course, Brian Pumper, because we can't go to the show. Sean Wolford, and we also had Riaz with the Super Chat. So thank you all once again. Winona, Duck Holiday,
hey, Nona.
Music Lover 31, Joaquin from Cherry Hill.
What up, Joaquin?
INS, Hedva, Igavini.
What up, Hedva?
Elvis Martinez.
Elvis back in the building.
I was going to make the same joke. Money Mar, Eugene Ross, Brian Knight, Line Wen, Randy Rubard.
What up, Randy?
Mellow 3 Point.
Mellow, my man.
Traveling WM, DC Marley, J Matrix. Saw Barbara Carroll in the chat.
I didn't see Barb. Hey, Barb, it's been a while.
Saw The Truth. He called game. Jay the Jungle, we'll use your...
Tyrese Halliburton called game.
We will use your government name now, Jay. You Better Love Somebody.
Better love somebody. Love somebody.
And let me scroll
What up, Jay?
The 76th man is in there as well.
What up, 76?
Let me scroll and see if I missed jotting down any names. I think that's a pretty good summary, or at least of the people that I remembered seeing.
All right. I saw my mom in there.
Okay, I missed your mom.
Yeah, Mom was in
What
there.
up, Mom?
Yeah, we had a good week. Busy week.
I said INS, right?
Said INS.
Yeah, I said INS.
It's all B night, all of them. You said everybody, yeah. All right, so yeah, we thank everybody for hanging out with us all week while we were in and out of the lineup all week. Derek's been here all week. Bree has been here all week, except for when she bailed on.
I think this means I get 3 days off next week.
I think it does.
That's what that means.
I think that means Kyle's been out as well. So we're just all getting ready for the draft and doing things that we need to do, of course. So we want to make sure that if you want to tell others, because of how much fun we have on the show, especially here with the draft, 19 days away, we're getting closer and closer. Next week, man, we're going to be like, now it's down to 2 weeks as we lead up to the draft. Like and subscribe to the show. Tell others about it. Spread the word. Love somebody, right? Tell somebody, tell another somebody to like and subscribe to the PHLY Sixers show. And when you do like and subscribe, you hit the bell icon to get the alerts.
Ooh, what the heck was that?
That sound like that, not the first one, that it will be showtime. And you will also have the opportunity to converse in the chat with super producer Bree, because she is the best at making sure that we stay on track and do everything that we need to do here on the show. She is the president of basketball operations for a reason. So everybody, for Derek, Bree, Kyle, myself, have a great.
Kyle, who's Kyle? I don't remember him.
Kyle in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
No other Kyle I know.
Have a great rest of your Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Stay cool since the weather is heating up. And we appreciate Seth Greenberg joining us this week as well. We hope to have some more guests over the next couple of weeks, starting next week as well, bringing some more in to talk about these prospects and what it looks like for the Philadelphia 76ers. Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy, and we will talk to you on Monday, 3 p.m., right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.